Hi, this is my next Oxford Open Doors video. I'm going to walk around Worcester College, which has lovely gardens and much bigger gardens than you might think from the outside. These are normally closed to people unless they happen to be friends of students. So this is one chance in the year to see them. And I've started just off Walton Street, looking up at Walton Street over there, the record shop, because I want to use this as a comparison with the view inside the college. That is the Sainsbury Building, the Worcester College Sainsbury Building, and we'll see it from the other side once I get far enough round the gardens. So I'm now going to walk up to Walton Street and then turn right and then walk the very short distance to Worcester. Well, actually I suppose it's not that short. It indicates just how big the gardens are. So now I'm on Walton Street and I'm heading south. Those red brick buildings between the trees are the flats and some offices on the edge of Gloucester Green. That's Worcester College. That's Worcester College. And this is the main gate of Worcester College. That's Worcester College Lodge beyond it. And if you stand further down Beaumont Street, you can see how Worcester is positioned as the focus of the street.
I'd like to see you can have your cheese on. That's still an option. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. Enjoy.
Too tiring.
Well, discussing somewhere like Worcester, one finds oneself compressing huge spans of time, hundreds of years or 500s of years, into a few yards along a site or a few paragraphs in a history. Worcester College, I'm quoting largely from the nice leaflets that Worcester have handed out to everybody who's come to look at them today. Worcester is only about 300 years old, apparently, but the site has held a much earlier institution from which the names of some parts of Oxford come, and that is Gloucester College. Gloucester Green gets its name from that, for example. And Gloucester College apparently was established in 1283 to house monks from Benedictine abbeys who wished to study here. And one remnant of it is these cottages. Those cottages were built for Gloucester College in the 15th century, and there was once apparently a matching set on the right-hand side here. Well, Gloucester College didn't survive, courtesy of Henry VIII. It suffered under the dissolution of the monasteries in 1539, and it had to close. But luckily, these buildings survive. Granted, they're probably something like 150 to 200 years newer than Gloucester College itself, but they still give some idea of what it was like to be there once upon a time. Worcester College, as I said, is about 300 years old and was founded in 1714 with a benefaction of £10,000 from a Worcestershire baronet, Sir Thomas Cookes, and apparently is the only college surviving in Oxford which was founded in the 18th century. And one of the things it did to show off its new status was to replace the cottages on this side with the neoclassical buildings there. What I'm going to do now is to look at the chapel, most of whose decoration was designed or redesigned by a chap called William Burgess in 1864. And there are some particularly charming features attached to the pews, which I'll show you. and one of them is very Oxfordy. So I'm now going under the cloisters, or through the cloisters. There's a First World War memorial, and there's a Second World War memorial on the other side, which I'll pass in a minute. These are the cloisters. I'm going to go into the chapel. So that was the chapel, and the figures I was referring to earlier are the ones carved at the top of each pew, and they include something which is just so Oxfordy, a dodo, which was I think the third but last one that I showed, and there was also a unicorn I love the hippo, which I showed a little bit earlier. And I can't help thinking that if Worcester were to sell reproductions of these, they'd make a mint. Maybe they do. Now I'm going to look at the dining hall, which is a room of the same dimensions on the other side of the cloisters, on the other end of the cloisters. And this has a very airy, light feel to it. And I love that window. Some colleges cram their dining halls with elaborately heavy portraits of defunct heads of college, but Worcester have limited to just a few, and the walls are a nice light colour, so nothing feels oppressive, and the whole hall, as I say, looks very light and airy. It's nice. Right, well, according to the guide, if I go down these steps, I come to a part of the college that's called Pump Quad or Pump Quadrangle. Which is this. And the name apparently comes from a water pump that used to stand at the far corner of the quad. The buildings here, the leaflet says, are the oldest in the college, and they've been used for what, 7 centuries for accommodation. I don't think that's the pump. I think that's more modern. And this also has a very an institution that's very important in any college, namely the student bar, cellar bar. But imagine these having been used continuously for 7 centuries worth of students. I'm not allowed inside, and I wouldn't anyway, but you can get an idea. Right, well now I'm going to go back into the big quadrangle and walk past the cottages. And remember I said that these cottages predate Worcester. They were used by the people from the Benedictine abbeys, which sent students to Gloucester College. And each crest denotes the corresponding abbey. Don't know whether there's one missing here. Somebody's written men on it. That's nice. And if I stand right back, I can get a wonderful view of these buildings. And there again are the cottages. So now I'm going to go through what they call the tunnel and come out onto the Nuffield lawn. And it says that this informal area of the gardens was laid out in a picturesque style at the beginning of the 19th century, resembling an arboretum, a garden of trees with a large collection of trees.
Yeah, what are they doing up there? I see people wandering. We can come back. Let's just see what happens.
And we must be pretty near the bottom of Walton Street. If I could somehow climb over the fence or hedge or whatever on the south side. And that chimney, apparently, belonged to Gloucester College's medieval kitchen and was built in 1423 for £7, 4 shillings and 4p. That's built in 1423 for £7, 4 shillings and 4p. I think construction costs have gone up a bit since. So I'm just looking at the plants now, and I have to say I'm comparing this with the gardens of the Islamic Studies Centre that I visited yesterday, and I do prefer these. There's a limited amount that Islamic Studies can do about its layout because it was constrained by the space that it's built on, but I think Worcester has a much nicer selection of plants. And those are pleasantly exotic. They're pretty similar actually to the plants that I mentioned at, I think it was 151 Divinity Road in a video about Divinity Road. Something tropical. I hope it's frost hardy enough to withstand the winter.
We laughed about, but then I haven't heard them in since. Right.
Now these are interesting. Are they? I know there's something called a tree fern, but I've never seen one. However, this looks like what I think a tree fern ought to look like. And there's a smaller one. Oh, that's great if I've seen a tree fern for the first time. Well, right, well now I'm coming to the lake. This takes its water from the Oxford Canal, which obviously is very close, and was made round about 1817 to help deal with waterlogging. Worcester being as subject to flooding as anywhere else round here. And now apparently it's mainly used for irrigation around the college.
So do you want to go
It's
there?
unfinished. Oh, is it the one where they're putting the star on top?
So that is Worcester College Lake. And I'm just following it back, or following the path round it, back where I came from. I don't know what that is, but that looks quite exotic too. Wouldn't be surprised if they've got a few plants here from Madagascar or Australia or somewhere else that notably produces exotic shapes. Well, I wasn't expecting that. We've just had a sudden, very sharp shower. I'll continue for the moment. So there's an old stone gateway ahead of me, and that apparently marks the boundary of the 19th century college garden. Before 1900, the area was water meadow. The area beyond the gate was water meadows, and provided grazing for the provost's cows, the provost being the head of the college. But then the students ran a fundraising campaign and had sports pitches and a cricket pavilion built. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Which one do you need over there then, too?
I'm just wondering whether students are allowed to row on the lake. Well, I don't need a guide to tell me that this is probably a cricket pavilion. The guide does tell me that the path splits in two here, and that I can either go round the lake like that couple are doing, or I can take a longer path that goes between the sports field and the canal. I'll try the latter.
Yes, I was going to say you won't want to be out too long, will you? Stop calling it that.
I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to walk on the lane, on the lawn. Better not.
I know what you mean.
Okay, well that's cricket, isn't it? So that is clearly a cricket pavilion. I like it. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, but the trouble is,
I would like to go out for a meal with Mary now.
And I do like those. Some sort of ornamental grass, I suppose. It's a really nice combination of colours. That's lovely. Right. I can't help noticing that and if I understand correctly, this is the Sultan Nazrin Shah Centre, opened in 2017. And it's got in it a lecture theatre, seminar rooms and a dance studio. And where is it? Somewhere on the right is a Henry Moore sculpture, reclining figure. I think I can see it just about there. I hope it shows up on the video. And that is the Sultan Nazrin Shah Centre. I'm pretty sure that that is the Sainsbury building and that it's what I pointed at from the other side when I started this walk. And that is the cricket pavilion.
因为我们那个人多。哦。刘老师37岁的时候开始教书。
Well, we're in the gardener's work area here. Right, I can just see bits of Jericho through there. That's what used to be the New Inn, now owned by somebody called Pandora. And that is Nelson Street, running back up to Walton Street past the synagogue. And this is an odd little sort of cul-de-sac at the bottom of Nelson Street. So now I'm walking back up the other side of the sports field and back towards the entrance to the college. And that's the little cricket pavilion in the distance. And that is a champion tree registered with the tree register and the county champion, www.treeregister.org. And it's described as champion tree Metasequoia glyptostroboides, 27 metres by 3.19 metres, measured in 2018 and the tallest in Oxfordshire. So I suppose I ought to stand here and appreciate that. It may be the first time that I have ever seen a sequoia. It's slightly sort of fluffy. Well, actually, I seem to remember, I think in most of the depictions of sequoias I've seen, they have little doors cut in them and cars driving through, at least in the Disney cartoons. Well, bamboo makes a very impenetrable hedge, and I think it's separating us quite satisfactorily from Nelson Street and bottom of Nelson Street. I think that might be Pandora's house in the distance.
I've just got her on.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, what a shame I'm not allowed out. So this is the back end of the Sultan Nazrin Shah Centre, complete with lawn protection. Right, so I've got the sports field on my right now, and there's the pavilion, and the guide is inviting me to cross a small bridge
where it'd be just sort of bringing on for 20 minutes, you know, rather than sort of starting.
He didn't play yesterday because he's injured. But again, you see, you've got the oldest fullback there.
And there is the Henry Moore. Reclining figure 1982. Great. Okay. That is the college entrance that I pointed to when I started the walk. That's the Sultan Nazrin building. This is the Nash Cafe. So I think I'll get myself a fresh coffee. Okay, well this is the Nash Cafe. And the building there is one that I've often seen from the other side, but never from this side before. The other side being outside the college. And it's apparently now the graduate common room, but it was once the main office of a timber yard based in Jericho. I remember somebody telling me that in 1970 or so there used to be 3 builders' yards in Jericho. Maybe this was one of them. So now I'm going to go back towards the lodge. Just check that I've got everything.
I think you can walk through that way.
So this is the Nash Building. Okay, well I'm now in the orchard apparently, and the leaflet says that this was the passion of Provost Lys, that's Lys, 1863 to 1947, who planted many of the trees, which today produce around 750 bottles of pear and apple juice a year. And the garden is sown with wild flowers and mown just once a year to promote biodiversity. Now I'm coming up to a Besse Building, that's spelt B-E-S-S-E, and Besse has benefacted several colleges in Oxford, including St Peter's and Teddy Hall, St Edmund's Hall. And I gather that he wasn't a very pleasant character. One Middle Eastern expert that I know described him as a Levantine arms dealer. And there was a joke about a statue of him in one of the colleges having been made out of gunmetal. Sorry, a bust of him having been made out of gunmetal. Right, so I've come up and over those steps after going through that
Straight down for the cafe.
doorway, and I'm now back in the main quad, and there are the cloisters, and there are the Gloucester College cottages, and I will now exit because I'm running very short of power. Hello. Oh, sorry. And I'm now facing St John's at the other end of Beaumont Street. So that's Worcester College. Thank you, Oxford Preservation Trust. Thank you, Worcester College.